Good morning and maybe good evening also. I think most of it's Asian. So today, as actually also Tibetan, we call the Guru Rinpoche Day. Actually, this is a lunar first, called the waxing moon's 10th day and a waning moon's 10th day, which is especially all the Daga and Dagini, and they gather together in the holy land, holy side of the called the Dagini gathering place, like India. There have many of them. Afghanistan. Also in Tibet, there's mainly, I think, two places they gather in the Daginis. One is in Tsari, I think one is in Tegung, called the Tetrum. So, and also all those places that is a really peaceful forest or, kind of a pleasant to, gathering, and those all places, they gather that specifically on those 2 days. So today is the waxing moon's 10th day, and we call the Dagan and Dagini gathering day. So this day, if we do especially like a puja, and it will have a greater benefit. So that reason, Naropa also his tradition, he always doing this special puja for the Daga day or Dagini day. And also because of the Naropa tradition, Marba continually did, and because of the Marba, he's disabled like a Milareba, and so that reason in the Kajuba tradition, these 2 days is a really kind of like a, especially they do some special puja like a Gana Chakra offering and things like that. Like my monastery on the waxing moon's 10th day, normally do the Lama Cheba. And the waning moon's 10th day, lots of time to the Vajrayogini or Chakra Sambhavara or something, they just practice to I think that is a really special impact of our prayer, because that day when we do especially Gana Chakra offerings, it's like we directly, gathering with the community of Daga and Dagini. So that help our practice as become more sufficient or more powerful. I think that is the main, reason to we celebrate. We call this one, and but because of the Daga day as dedicated in the Tibet Guru. And particularly, Pema Sambhava was a really, really especially kind to the Tibetan Buddhism. And one is that, two is also Pema Sambhava himself said he will return to Tibet every lunar, what called the waxing moon's 10th day, he will return to Tibet. After he left, when he was leaving. So that reason Tibetan people kind of dedicated today's day as a Guru Rinpoche days. I think main reason is because Guru Rinpoche himself, promised to the Tibetan kings and subject devoter to, he will be back every month, once every month, with spiritually. With the spiritual body, not the physical body as a now, So that is the main reason in the Tibetan culture, especially Nyima and Kagyu tradition. This celebration, can say celebration or on this day is a kind of a I think you can say important. So that way in the lunar, today is the 10th day. I think most of people call the Guru Rinpoche day, but which is also called Guru Day. Why? Because it's dedicated for the Dagas. So that way Guru is the male. So then kind of like Tibetan Buddhism dedicated for the waxing moon's 10th day as a, dedicated for the male, and waning moon's 10th day is dedicated to the female. So that way we call that Dagini day. I think that has come from that background. So that way today is the really auspicious day of waxing moon's 10th day. So and originally we're going to do today actually Vajrayogini practice, but since Vietnamese community, Ms. Dung, they couldn't find the translator, so today they want to they found a translator, and the translator have a time, so she want to me to talk on the these teachings, because I already talked one time on this Vajrayogini sadhana, short one, but still she want to repeat me, so that way a little bit change from the practice to become a teachings. Okay. Good to see you, actually. I mean, good to hear you. So now today we go to give this teachings of the chakras, the Vajrayogi. Before that, I'm sure you heard this one, you saw this one called the Recollection of the Three Jewels. The sutra name is called the Recollection of the Three Jewels. In that sutra, when describing to the Dharma, it said sacred Dharma is good at the beginning. I think it's sometimes used as a good at the beginning, good as a middle, and good as an end. Sometimes we use as also called virtues as a beginning, virtue as a middle, virtue as an end. I think meaning is the same. So what is mean saying is there's a Dharma mean that just commonly, phenomena are Dharma, and especially in the Asian culture like Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and everyone called the spiritual of the, their practice is called the Dharma. So this is a common word, but sacred Dharma, as you can see in the Sanskrit called the Satta Dharma. It's mean the holy, or if literally translated, it become a true Dharma. Why it is called the true Dharma? Because this is Buddha taught the truth. If you go to the Buddhism and try to compare to the modern knowledge, there's we don't have any difficulty. One, no matter how much modern knowledge is improving, Buddhism becoming closer. They become closer to the Buddhism. So that way Buddha taught actually truth, something. Also, secondarily, when you're hearing Buddhism teachings, always be practical. There is no superficial. Buddhism is a really important, is a practical one, that is a Buddhist teachings. So that way looks a symbol, but it's really elegant. So the reason is called the Satta or sacred Dharma. So that is a Buddha's teaching is. When you see the Satta Dharma, sacred Dharma, holy Dharma, that is talking about the Buddha's teaching. When you see the just say Dharma, it means talking about the phenomena or any kind of religion scripture. Okay, so that is a little bit different. These days, lots of Westerner, they try to use as a, particularly try to use, especially Theravada community, they use as a called the Buddha Dharma. They use it in the English, they use as a Buddha Dharma. I think you should know that one, because those are, maybe you may think like they are not important, but they are really important to know. So Dharma practitioner. Now this is one we call ourselves as a Dharma practitioner. What does a practice mean, the Dharma? How to practice? We have to know. So Dharma practice have three things. When we call the Dharma practice, there's three things called the hearing, contemplate, meditations. So those three are Dharma practice. You have to hearing from the Guru, You have to contemplate yourself, make sure you understood correctly, or make sure it makes sense, you know. And the third one is once you have a confidence of that meaning, what you understood, then you have to put on a practice until you have a total accomplishment. So that is called the three way to call the Dharma practice. When we are practicing Dharma, first is we have to examine it as our motivation. If we doing Dharma practice for the wrong reason, wrong motivation, then even we do the Dharma practice, it will give the result as a negative. So that reason why it's called the virtue as a beginning, or good at the beginning. So beginning means that when you're starting, you have to need good reasons, you know, your motivation, make sure it's motivation. If you have a wrong motivation, like a mundane motivation, like gaining for the power, these days lots of people do Dharma practice as this life's benefit. You know, whatever short-term benefit you get, they are so much into that. So that way, like Achi, you know, what called Zabala, those kind of practice are really popular. Why? Because they're seeking to the short-term benefit. Oh, if we practice Achi, we become really successful. If we practice the Zabala, we become really rich. This is not true. Just practicing that cannot become rich, or just practicing Achi, you cannot become successful. Achi is not the creator. Achi cannot create your own karma. You know, Achi have no ability to fix your karma. If that's possible, you don't need to ask her. She will do that without asking, without unconditionally, because she was a Buddha. She is Buddha. I mean, she is a Buddha, so she will do unconditionally. If there's a way to, she can do. It's impossible. Anyone cannot do that. So that way, lots of time, our actually practice of the motivation is the wrong reasons, called the mundane motivated, called the eight worldly concern. So we do Dharma practice, eight worldly concern. So since we're doing Dharma practice for the eight worldly concerns, it's becoming non-virtue as a beginning. Why is it involved with the negative emotions? So from the beginning, it's a start with the negative emotion. It never become a So that way, Buddha said in the three Sutra, in the Dharma said virtue as a beginnings. So that way, we have to make sure when we're doing Dharma practice, make sure we are doing for good reasons. So we have to know what is the good reasons. So if you want to know the what kind of you know motivation we need for receiving teaching, there's a three type of motivation related to the you know Hinayana motivation, Mahayana motivation, Vajrayana motivation. If you want to learn the detail, I think you should read the Word of My Perfect Teacher. That book is really good for those three explanation. But briefly, I can tell you one thing. Say, whenever you're doing like any kind of Dharma activities, before we do Dharma activities, we you know start with we do three prostrations. When you're doing three prostrations, you're visualizing Buddha, Dharma, Sangha as a front of you. You know, life like a you know really like a fresh life Buddha, Dharma, Sangha as a front of you. So that is an object to go to refuge or go for refuge. So when you're taking refuge, go to refuge is called the motivation of the renunciation. Then when you're not taking only yourself, you're taking for the benefit of every sentient being. So when you're doing prostration, you're visualizing every sentient being around you. You know, your right side is your father, your left side is your mother, your front is your enemy, behind 6 realms is sentient being. Everyone doing, you know, prostration with with you together with the motivation of the renunciation of refuge, going to refuge. So everyone taking refuge, together. That is a, or you are taking refuge to sake of mother sentient beings. That is a bodhicitta. And when you take a refuge to the sake of mother sentient beings, also you are inseparable of those three jewels. Your nature of mind have the called the resulted refuge, which is your nature of mind is already Buddha. So within your recognizing of yourself as a Buddha, it's become a Vajrayana. So when you're doing prostration alone, there's all three motivations of the Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana are combined together to and do prostrations. So that help you to your direction of your practice must without direction of a practice will follow without mistakenly. So then it become virtue as a beginning. So I think anytime when you do prostration before your practice or before you receive a teaching, you should visualizing something like that, then do prostration. When you're doing also prostration, you don't do short way. Some people do it so rushing. Just do calmly, do one prostration, completely touch down, at least those 5 limbs, 2 knee, 2 palm, and forehead, totally touch down and stand straight, then do again one, so the 3 times like that. Sometimes we rushing, not touching to the like forehead on the ground, or sometimes not straightening body, then kind of like rushing way to do 3 prostrations. Even, so that is not necessary. So even 3 prostration is the part of your daily practice. So once you're doing even doing only 3 prostration, must do really fully. So then I think it become a more like a profound of our practice. Okay, actually it's taking too long too, so maybe we stop here to about that. Then now go to the text. I put the title here. If you anybody can read the Tibetan, please ignore the Tibetan because it's mistaken here. Sorry. So just ignore that Tibetan title because it's not this text title. There's a mistaking. But English one is you see the generation stage, liberating instruction of the Bhagavati Vajrayoginī with the one face of true truth. So this is the title of this particular text. This text originally, this practice originally, Tiluba received from the Vajrayoginī in the Udiyana, and Tiluba bring to India, from Udiyana to India, central India. Then from Tiluba to receive the Naropa, and when he received the Naropa, Tiluba mentioned in later give to the Marba. There's one Vajra song, even the song, there's one how Tiluba said. So that reason Naropa gave to the, actually this teaching, they call the combined it of the generation stage and completion stage. Naropa gave to the Marba. But same time also Naropa requests to the Marba to go to Sosali. There's a cemetery near the Bodh Gaya, Sosali cemetery. And when Marba went to there in the Sosali cemetery, the ordinary woman comes and she said, you want to receive the, you want to see the Vajrayoginis mandala. And Marba thought that's maybe Dagini. So he said yes. And she opened her chest with a hook knife and opened her chest, and inside her chest and see complete mandala of the Vajrayogi, this particular text, complete mandala. And then Naropa again said to the Marba, I mean, that is what she received, called the sign empowerment. You know, it's not like ritual empowerment, but it's a sign empowerment, Taiwan. Then Naropa again asked Marba to go to Bodh Gaya to receive the blessing from the Buddhist tooth, you know, relic. So when Marba went from the Buddhist tooth to manifest this particular sadhana on the particular tree leaves, on the tree leaf, and in the, I think, Singalin language, writing was in the Singalin. And that's how Marba received this text from Buddhist truth. And then later Marba bought in Tibet, and he wrote many different commentary or different sadhanas. I think like there's a 16 or 15 different type of practice related to the Vajrayogini Marba wrote. And then Marba gave to the Milarepa, actually called the generation stage of the co-emerge, which is this I think this text, this practice is a give to the generation stage is a teaching empowerment and all detail. Then completion stage part is a Marba give him in the rolling paper and said, in the future, when you need, you can open this one. So completion stage is a Marba give to him with the rolling paper. That is how Marba to Milarepa. Then later Milarepa give to the Kamboba to then come to the history really, and all the Kajuba called the Tapo Kaju, which is now is existent, is a like a Kama Kaju, Duba Kaju, Tikun Kaju, Talung Kaju. I think there's some Yasang Kaju, maybe, but there's also Barum Kaju, sorry. So those still exist. So they all come from the Kamboba tradition. So I think pretty much everyone using this particular text as a, mainly practice of the Vajrayoginis. Of course, I mean, each tradition have their own sadhana, so that way maybe a little bit sadhana looks a little bit different, but the main practice is the same. So that is how God this one, so-called this is a only generation stage. Liberation, completion stage is because this is a part of the 6 yoga of Naropa. The completion stage is the 6 yoga of Naropa. So that way the generation stage is the Vajrayogini practice, this one. And her name is Shri Bhagavan Vajrayogini, Bhagavati. So Bhagavati means the complete in Latin one. And this text, particular sadhana of the Vajrayogini, is called the true face of the true truth. Face of the true truth, because this is a Vajrayogini only two face. There's no retinue or anything. So it's her main face and south face. So that way called the true face of, as a symbol of the true truth. That is a briefly history of this text. Okay, then so Tabokaju, sorry, Tabokaju as a come from the Kamboba. Why is it specifically we using Tabokajus? Because Tabokaju is a Kamboba compounded of the two lineage called the Kadamba tradition and the Mahamudra traditions. So that reason those two how he compounded, I think most of people knows in the Kajuba we have a compounded of those two lineage of the Kadamba and Mahamudras. So how he compounded is he mostly emphasizing on the bodhicitta, which is a taught teaching from the Kadamba tradition, like mind training and those, mostly emphasizing from the bodhicitta as mostly emphasizing from the Kadamba traditions. Then that is compounded with the Mahamudra. So those two are together. So the reason in the generally Kadam Kajuba tradition, and particularly in the Digunkaji tradition, we start with the refuge, Bodhicitta, our prayer, daily prayer start with the Bodhicitta. Normally, if you go look at Tibetan Buddhism, most of the time they start with the refuge. But in specific, only I think Digunkaji, we start with the Bodhicitta. So that way, this is not really part of the actual text, but this is we put on the text. So there's a two type of a bodhicitta called the aspiration bodhicitta and action bodhicitta. So different is it, you can see in the aspiration bodhicitta, there's a no limit. They said all mother sentient beings, limitless as a space, especially those enemies who hate me and obstructors who harm me, and those who create an obstacle on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and simply may they attain the precious and surpasses perfect, complete enlightenment. So this one is called the aspiration bodhicitta. So in the aspiration bodhicitta, you shouldn't make limited, you shouldn't make the number, you shouldn't make the, area. You have to make as a boundless, as called a limitless as a space. As limitless as a space means the longest there is a space, there is a sentient beings. Longest there is a sentient beings, your altruistic motivation is to go that far. So that way it's called the limitless as space mean. Because a space have no boundary, space has no border. Nobody can measure how wide the space is. So there's no limit. If you look at these days as scientists, there's many galaxies. Galaxies after galaxies, galaxies after galaxies. There's like countless. They couldn't find the, what called the borderline of the space. There's no borderline of the space. That way called the limitless space. So when we generating aspiration bodhicitta, you shouldn't make limitation. You shouldn't make the measurement. You should have boundless. You should have a wisest. You should have a greatest, because there's no. I think one way can say there's no limit for the hope, no limit for the imagination, no limit for the what called aspiration, no limit for the prayer. So that way you shouldn't make any limit of your aspiration bodhicitta. So try to make that greatest. So when we're making greatest, most our challenge is daily life. Our challenge is directly generating bodhicitta toward to those beings who are enemy, who hate you, who hurt you, who distract you, who become an obstacle to your path. That kind of directly related in front of us. Because we can meditate the loving kindness, compassion toward to the every sentient beings, but it's really difficult to meditate in loving kindness, compassion for people are around you, because they are not always not favorable to you. They are not always not supportive to you. So that way, it's the most difficulty is the people or in an individual front of us who are against it to us, who are opposing to us, who are obstructing to us. For them, most difficult. If we cannot meditate to them, bodhicitta, then our bodhicitta is no value, because we couldn't meditate every sentient beings. Then our bodhicitta is become a partial. Our bodhicitta become limited. So then it's not, perfect bodhicitta. So that reason, when you are generating bodhicitta, never put the limitation, especially aspiration bodhicitta. So that way, this is a first one is called the aspiration bodhicitta. Okay. Then second is called the action bodhicitta. But when come to the action bodhicitta, it means that actually engaging to the actually practice. When we Actually practicing, we have to do based on our capacity. Every individual are not the same capacity. Okay, so each one have their own capacity. According to our own capacity, we have to engage on the practice. So if our capacity is really small and we try to do greatest, like a really high advanced practice, it doesn't work. Lots of people want to jump to the conclusion of the practice, like a Mahamudra, Six Yoga, Naropa, and those highest one. And they don't want to emphasize on the like a Ngondro and those preliminary practice. Sometimes people feel like it's a wasting time. It's not really wasting, until you are really completely prepared on the preliminary practice. Actually, it's never become a stable practice. So when it comes to the actually practicing and the Dharma, so we have to do much as we can, okay? It's not necessarily everyone will be same. So here, when it comes to the action bodhicitta, there's three choices. So first said, for that purpose, it means the liberate every sentient beings, limitless of sentient beings. For that purpose of the aspiration bodhicitta, so there's three choices you have. If you are a greater practitioner who have a courageous and determination, then you can make the commitment of from now on until I attain the Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, mind as a virtue. So that is mean that you make a vow from now on until you completely achieve Buddhahood, you're going to be dedicated your body, speech, mind on the Dharma practice. But some maybe not that much courageous, then you can make the second choice is so I will apply my body, speech, mind virtue. So until death, it means that from now on until death come in this life, I will be dedicated my life to the Dharma practice. Okay, that is the secondary. Third one is even that is impossible to make the commitment. Then said, from now on, from today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, mind, and virtue. So at least, make the vow to want to do one day, you want to practice. So this is three different choices as showing as three different type of capacity beings. So even you're a Bodhisattva, but every Bodhisattva not necessarily same, similar or same things can do. So that way there's three choices. Show you this is showing as I think when actually engaging on the action bodhicitta, then you must do according to your capacity or according to your wisdom or knowledge. You don't have to do more than what you are capable, more than what you can do. Because if you try to do more than what you're capable, then it will burn out. Then you will completely drop up. So that is a problem comes. Lots of people try to do a really high one and they couldn't handle that one, then later become a big problem. Because of that reason, I think we must engaging actually when actually make a commitment of the practice. Don't make the big commitment from the beginning. Lots of people try to do big commitment because of the enthusiasm or some kind of like make them really make the big commitment, but then later they couldn't handle that commitment and it become a big problem. So that reason, don't make a big commitment. Just make the smaller and never give up that commitment. Then slowly increasing that commitment, then it can be become successful. Otherwise, the person may try to make the greatest commitment and it become a smaller. In Tibetan, we said it become like a head as a goat, tail as a sheep, because sheep tail is really small. So you make the head as a goat have a big head. So you start with a big one and ending with a small one. This is not really good. So you should start with a smaller way, and from there to increasing with the experience, then one day you can become a great. So I think, so this is what showing us when actually we are practicing Dharma, must do according to our own capacity. You don't have to copy anyone, because you don't have to do because someone else doing this one. You don't have to do that one because someone else doing. You just do what you can do. You just do what is suiting to you, what is suitable to you, with your wisdom, with your time, with your ability, with your circumstance. So every individual have a different circumstance. So based on your own circumstance and based on your own condition, make your own timetable, make your own commitment, measurement. So then it become a healthy practice. Otherwise, we try to do something that is not our capacity, then later it become a totally mess up. And it doesn't work actually. So that is showing us a Lord Jiddu make this really beautiful way, 3 different type of action bodhicitta. It means the actually practice, you have 3 different way you can perform. Okay. So then refuge. Yeah, of course, a fundamental motivation of the Buddhism is the refuge. So that way we have to take refuge to 3 jewels. Generally, in the Vajrayogini, generally all the distinguishing the Buddhism and non-Buddhism is a refuge. If you take refuge to the 3 jewels, you're part of all the practices becoming part of the path to the Buddhahood. If you not take refuge to the 3 jewels, whatever you do with channel bindu highest practice, it never become a path to the liberation. So that reason, like for example, like a wind channel bindu is a common practice in India, Hindu, I think Jainism too. Everyone practice that one, wind channel bindu. Only difference between the Buddhism and them is a refuge. When you take refuge to the 3 jewels, when you generate the bodhicitta, and it become a Buddhism and a Mahayana. If you not take refuge to the 3 jewels, no matter how country practice you do, it become just common practice. So that reason, we must take refuge to the 3 jewels. So common refuge is a Buddha as a, awakening one, Dharma as a, Mahayana teachings, and Sangha as a Sangha communities. But here, when you said until awakenings, it means the completely awakening of the Buddhahood. I take refuge. I don't like this word that much, take, because take sounds like it's a taking to you, Actually, I go for refuge. Because in Tibetan word, they say chi. Chi means the going to somewhere. So you have to go to. So what does it mean? Like if there's a raining, you have to find a way to hide from the raining. So you have to find the cape. But you cannot bring the cape to you. You have to go to cape yourself to, protect yourself from the rain. So same way you have to go. I don't like the take. I don't know, maybe my English is not deep enough, understand, but I don't like that much that word as I take. Because it's always, we have this, sense of receiving something. Always want to receive something, and you never want to live your mundane life, and on this you want to receive all other things. Then you not really have a good renunciation. So I like better using words called I go for refuge. So here, object of the refuge is called the Buddha. In particularly in the Vajrayana, when you say in Buddha, when you say in Buddha, as I said, Buddha of the embodiment of all the 5 Buddha, which is the Buddha Vajradhara. or the sixth Buddha, is the embodiment of all the five Buddha, or mean the compounded all the five Buddha together, it becomes the sixth one, which is the Vajradhara. Sometimes it's said Vajrasattva. So mainly it's said Vajradhara. So Guru Vajradhara. Buddha as a Guru Vajradhara. So this way, because when you're taking in the Vajrayana, you have to be inseparable of your Buddha, your Guru and Buddha as inseparable. You know, they cannot make those two separate. So Guru as a Buddha, Buddha as a Guru. So that way, when saying Buddha, mean the five Buddha family, which is the inseparable of those five Buddha. I mean, those five Buddha family is become sixth Buddha, or the embodiment of all the five Buddha family is a sixth Buddha Vajradhara. So you're taking refuge as your Guru as a Guru Buddha Vajradhara. So that is a object of the refuge of the Buddha, and the Dharma as a scriptural text, but mainly is a truth, you know, true truth, relative truth, and absolute truth. Okay, then here is Supreme Assembly. Supreme Assembly. Assembly means that anyone gathering is an assemble, you know, Sangha community, but there's using as a supreme. Here in the Vajrayana, Supreme Assembly as someone who have reached to the, you know, in the Mahamudra is said yoga of the free from elaborations or above, especially the Mahamudra practitioner who have a realization of the one taste. That is the Supreme Assembly or Supreme Sangha, or in the Sanskrit it's called the Arya Sangha, Noble Sangha. So those are the object to the taking refuge to the three jewels, or you can say your Guru's body is the Sangha, your Guru's speech is the Dharma, your Guru's mind is a Buddha. So actually you taking to the refuge as your Guru, which is the inseparable of the three root and three jewels. So that is what is in the specifically in the Vajrayana. When we're taking refuge, we have to take refuge that way. Then second part is a generating bodhicitta. So we already talked. So said by the merit of generosity and other good deed, it means the generosity, moral, ethic, patience, perseverance, method of concentration as a sixth paramita may attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. So Buddhahood is not going to reach by the blessings. Buddhahood is not going to reach by the wishing, hoping, prayer, you know, it's not going to reach there. You have to put on the action. What kind of action is it? Those like a practice of the generosity, practice of the, you know, that is, or in the, in the Vajrayana, it's called the generation stage and completion stage as a deity yoga. So you have to practice those two yogas. I mean, two stages, generation stage and completion stage. Within those two stages, then you have a hope to achieve the Buddhahood. So that is some bodhicitta. So this is not, you know, so I think according to the Vajrayana practice, and you have to see refuge and bodhicitta as I think that way. Okay, now as that is the meaning, but how to, when practicing, how to you visualizing is it front of you, you have to visualize in front of you Vajravarahi manifests instantaneously like a fish jump from the water, you know, instantaneously manifests a Vajravarahi in front of you, which is the inseparable of your Guru. So Vajravarahi and your Guru as inseparable. Then front of the Vajravarahi as inseparable of the three jewel and three root, we are taking refuge. We are going to take refuge as then also visualizing your right side is your father, left is your mother, front is your enemy, behind the 6 sentient beings, all total together taking refuge together to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha and of the Vajravarahi. Then from the Vajravarahi and purified received the blessings that purified every one of us, including the sentient beings. Every one of them are totally liberated, especially 6 realms sentient beings, totally liberated and reach to the Vajrayogi's state of the, be reach. And then once you're done the taking refuge, then the field of accumulation of refuge is dissolved to you. When it is dissolved to you, you recognize you are called the ordinary mind or nature mind. That ordinary mind or nature mind, it itself is the inseparable of the 3 jewels. That is called the resulted refuge. So sometimes it's said appearing aspect of the mind as a Sangha, empty aspect of mind as a Dharma, and union of those 2 aspects of the mind as a Buddha, or sometimes said, and mind, that nature of a mind which is free from defilement or conceptual thought as a Buddha, and that nature is permanently unchangeable. That is the Dharma, and that nature permanently always be with the quality of the Dharmakaya. So that is the Sangha. So either way, your nature mind itself is the inseparable of the 3 jewels, of the ultimate refuge of the 3 jewels of the Buddha as ultimate refuge as a Dharmakaya. So that is called the resulted refuge. Then meditate there with that, so that is what is actually, especially in the Vajrayana, I think sometimes you should exercise that way to try to, to take refuge. Okay. Now, it's a second one is for immeasurable. Said all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and cause of suffering. May they not be separate from happiness, free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment, aversions. So this one is called the for immeasurable. So normally we said I love. Okay. When we use the English language, love involved to the self-interest, something you like, okay? But in the language of the Buddhism, when we said loving kindness, it means the wishing to them to be happy, like how mother wished to the child. So that is how start the loving kindness compassion. Generally, this for immeasurable is not the bodhicitta. Okay, loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, joy, having it is not enough to become a bodhicitta. But in the Naropa tradition, this loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta are kind of like a one nature in the Naropa tradition. So what it means when you say mother sentient beings, limitless as a space, have happiness. What is the happiness is? You have to find. Happiness is liberation. Because in the samsara, you cannot find any true happiness. Everything's a mixture with the miserable or suffering. So if you want to be, make them happy, if you want to make them reach to the happiness, you have to bring them to the nirvana, liberations. It's called the everless happiness, because the mundane happiness is only temporary happiness. So that reason, when you want to bring them to the nirvana of everless happiness, then that is the bodhicitta. But having love, having compassion is not good enough to become bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means that you want to bring them to the, nirvana. You want to liberate them from the samsara. So that way, here, when we say is have happiness, is reaching to the happiness of the nirvana. Now, you have to look this way. if you look at front of you, someone, it may be a stranger. That stranger is miserable. Someone is really miserable physically or financially or emotionally, some kind of great suffering in someone. Imagine that one. We never know that person suffering because they created the negative karma for our sake. They may be in the past our mother, maybe they are in the past our father, and our sake, they make the negative karma. Because of that negative karma, they are suffering now. So you have to think that way. Then even that stranger is becoming close to you. Stranger is becoming your responsibility. So otherwise, sometimes when we see the stranger, we don't have a feeling. But when our own family member are suffering, then we immediately sad. Like people immediately cry or really try to do their best to protect their family member, loved one, when they have a sickness or suffering. And they, but when it just, stranger one suffering, and the people become a little bit, unrelated. Oh, this is nothing have to do with me. But we really don't know that nothing have to do or not, because it may be, so maybe they created negative karma for our sake. So that way, when you look at sentient being in the 6 realms, especially in the hell realm, hungry ghosts, animals, they are tremendously suffering. They are suffering as a result of the bad karma. They created that bad karma. So for whose reason, the purpose of what they create that bad karma? Maybe they create a bad karma for our sake. So that way we have a responsibility of liberating them from the suffering, even they are not related to us directly in this life. Actually, in this life, the enemy is not necessarily your enemy from the past life. In this life, the dear one is not necessarily your dear one from the past life. So that way, we have to, take the responsibility of every sentient being, because they have been our mother. It means they're kind to us. So want to bring them to the happiness. That is what love means. Love means that want to make them happy. Love means that want to free them from the suffering. So that is a love and compassion. When you have that one, and whenever you see sentient beings are, happy, peace, nirvana, then you get a tremendous of joy. That is called the joy. And this feeling had to be equal to the everyone. In the text said, may the equanimity free from attachment, aversion. Being free from attachment and aversion alone is not become equanimity. Then that doesn't become just ignorance. Like when we go to sleep, we don't have that anyone, we don't have attachment or aversions. We are free from that. When we are concussion, when we lost conscious, we don't have attachment and aversion. That is not equanimity. Equanimity means that you have to have a loving kindness, compassion toward the every sentient being equally. That feeling. If you don't have that feeling, then saying equanimity, that is ignorance. So that is not good. So that way here, when we say equanimity means that you have to have such feeling of a loving kindness and compassion equal to the every sentient beings, without that taking bias, of the close one or distant one. So everyone have to treat equally. This is generally it's called the four immeasurable, which is not necessarily bodhicitta, but in the Naropa tradition, it's called the inseparable nature of a bodhicitta and four immeasurable. Within the four immeasurable prayer itself, we generate bodhicitta. I think that is what it is. Okay, so then text said Namo Guru Vajrayoginis. Namo means to pay homage. To pay homage to whom is Guru Vajrayogini. So that is showing us in the Vajrayana, you have to see Guru and Vajrayogini, or the Guru and deity as inseparable. So that way Guru Vajrayoginis. And this is the name of the text. This is daily practice of the erasing stage and the mantra recitation of the Vajrayogini, because the main completion stage is not there. So that way it's mainly generation stage, and recitation of mantra is only on this. Now, for the practice, preparation of the actually practice of the when you're meditating, said with the body in the sevenfold posture of concentrations. Why is mentioned here is a practice. Dharma practice is mentally practicing. Yeah, our mind is practicing, but our mind, if our body not support, then I cannot practice, because the mind and the body are really strongly bounded, and whatever happened to the mind, body react with that. Whatever happened to the body, mind react with that. So, for example, when your mind is really sad, you know, and you come tears, you know, you couldn't smile. And when your mind is really happy, you have a full of smile. And those are reaction is nature. Whatever mind goes to the mind, body react that way. So that is showing us that those two are really bounded. So long as we are using this body, and the support of this body is a necessity for the practice Dharma. So that way, here is called the seven posture of Buddha Bharojana. And here, I mean, the text said sevenfold posture of concentrations, but normally it is used as a seven posture of Buddha Bharojana. I think why it's using as a name of the Buddha Bharojana is because Buddha Bharojana is the embodiment of all the enlightened body. And Buddha Amitabha is a speech, embodiment of all enlightened speech. Buddha Akshobhya is a embodiment of all the enlightened mind. Buddha Ranasambhava is the embodiment of all the Buddha's quality, and Buddha Amoghasiddhi is the embodiment of all the enlightened activities. So that way, since Buddha Bharojana is the embodiment of the old Buddha's body, so that way it's called the seven posture of Buddha Bharojana. So this means when you train your body on the sevenfold posture, you will have reached. You will plant the seed to reaching to the enlightened body. You know, that's help us to achieve the enlightened body. So that way name as a enlightened body, name as a Buddha Bharojana, because as earlier I mentioned. So that way this is called the seven posture of concentration. Also, why? Because when body is on the state of the seven posture, mind can bring into the concentration. When body is not really on the state of the posture, correct posture of the meditation, mind cannot bring into the meditation of a concentration. So that way it's called the sevenfold posture of a concentration. It's the reason it's the name that come. And particularly in this seven posture of Buddha Bharojana, as in the Vajrayana, as really related to the control of our wind elements. In the Vajrayana, we say this one: our body channel, inside the body there's a lot of nerve. It's called the channel. Those nerve, some have a blood, some are empty. They're through that nerve, those small, especially those small nerve, through that nerve to airflow inside body. So that was a nerve channel, and that the channel airflow, that's called the wind. So wherever airflow, mind access, active. So long as our body is with the full of air, circumambulation, and we could live. But when body couldn't, air circulate anymore, then we die. So that reason, body, channel, wind, mind, they are kind of related together, kind of together, function together. So this 7 posture, actually Pama Drupal called the 9 posture. So 9 posture or 7 posture is become practice of the controlling the wind element to bring into the central channel. So when our wind element is out of the central channel, it's called the afflicted wind. Then we have a conceptual thought. But when our wind element is entering into the central channel, we are free from conceptual. That is called the liberation. In the Vajrayana, a main practice is we try to bring to the wind element to the central channel forcefully. So that is the really main reason why we do the wind channel bindu practice as a. So this 7 posture is really helpful. For example, first is called the Vajra leg posture. Leg as a Vajra posture, or sometimes called the Bodhisattva postures, which help us to, from the 5 wind, is called the downward wind, which is like a, wind blow down of the body. It would block by leg crossing. It blocked the downward wind. So when it blocked, it forced to get into the central channel. And the second one is called the straight spine. So straight spine is mean that from the tailbone until to the head, there's a spine, must straight, because when spine is straight, channel are become straight. When channel are straight, wind blows slower, wind become calmer. When wind is calm, our mind become less conceptual. Mind become calm too. So also it help to contained wind into the central channel by straight spine. So kind of wind lows, central, second one. Then third one is called the open shoulder. Open shoulder means that you just a little bit, shoulders go back a little bit. It's called like a vulture. So when open shoulder is Pama Drupal said, you get less wind disease. Lots of people, when they're meditating, they have called the psychological problem. They see things, they hear things, and lots of actually practitioners get sometimes that kind of a problem. So he said, when you open the shoulder, you get less stress. You can try that one, because when your shoulder is closed, one way is become sleepy, 2 ways also there kind of like some kind of a heaviness come into your heart. When it come, just raise your shoulder out, and chest come out a little bit. It really give you some degree of relaxedness. It's that way it become less wind disease, the shoulder open. Then third is a meditation, hand meditation posture. Hand meditation posture as bring the water wind into the central channels. So water wind is mean the life force wind, which is the provided around the heart. So that is bring to the central channel, the fourth. And fifth one is called the eye gaze. And sixth one is called the tongue touching to the mouth. So those 2 actually help to strengthening the wind element into the central channel. Why I need the strength is because central channel have a lots of knot. That all the knot have to open. When the final knot open, we reach to the Dharmakaya. So those all knot need to open. For that, wind need really strength. Then neck should be posture as a slightly toward. So it helps to block the upward wind, or sometimes called the fire wind. So that control that wind to bring to the central channel. That is the 7 posture. And the Pama Drupal add 2 more called the generation stage and the completion stage. that practice of those, then you have experience of the luminosity, non-conceptual, and bliss. Those three experiences will arising by practice of the generation stage and the completion stage. So this 9 called the 9-fold posture by Pamadrupa, but it is mainly related to the 7 posture of Buddha Vajrayogini. So that is especially in the Vajrayogini, when you learn how to sit on the 7 posture of Buddha Vajrayogini, which will help to bring to the wind element to the central channel. When wind element bring into the central channel, it become a wisdom wind. Once the wind get into the central channel, then same as you reach to the first bhumi in Bodhisattva, which is the totally free from samsara. So wind channel bring into the central channel and reaching to the first bhumi in Bodhisattva is the same. In the Sudra tradition is called the first bhumi or path of the sea. In the Tantra tradition is called the wind channel, wind element bring into the central channel. So then it's become a wisdom wind. Janju Semjo Rinpoche Manje Vanai Kejoche Ye pai nyam pai mem pai gone gondo pe wai jo dada gonde dam je do do sabada yebe jeve zawande dada se je tanje nyondo lana me ba yanda ba so pe chanjo rambo je to ba jo je ja gon se kunjin chu je tende na la wanda de je be je damba se de ba she do Tenzin Rinpoche.